Party sent a $50 Rumble rant saying, "Thank you for all you gentlemen do. Thank you."
Yeah, thank you, Polymathanon. Got the party started. We have a new link, I think, for YouTube. So apologies. I don't know why that happened, but anyway, plenty to talk about tonight. Shit is popping off over in Minneapolis. Maybe it's by design, maybe not. I don't know, but it does appear that Walz is bringing in the National Guard. We're going to talk about that whole situation. Interesting True Social post from Trump the other day. He's keeps teasing the next term and keeps calling Biden's term his second term. And so we should talk about that a little bit. And on Wednesday, we talked a little bit about, Trump saying at Davos that they're going to be prosecuting election fraud. And I think it's such a huge deal. I've actually been working on an article for the first time in a long time around that. And I think we should discuss that a little bit because you just recently had an article that you wrote, Joe Biden's Never President, which I think is very fitting, very good. Everybody should read it if they haven't yet. And I think that
it'll be free for everybody tomorrow morning. So
yeah, so that's great. And then there was an article in the Atlantic we'll discuss a little bit, which I think is a pretty interesting read, kind of hysterical.
Yes.
And that's both funny and in the other use of the word where it's like they're trying to hysterical, right?
Yeah. Like worked themselves up into a panic. They're going crazy. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But before we get into anything, we should probably get a quick word from the sponsors of today's show. We got a few of them. So we'll start with two off the rip, and then we'll get into the other one a little bit later. And first up, we got Love Litters. Good folks over there and great product. Attention all you Badlanders with praying pals and feathered friends. Say hello to Love Litters. 100% pure kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals, no so kind to Mother Earth. No dust, no mess, and no toxins. Just a lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Their biodegradable litter is crafted from wood destined for landfills, giving it a new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. Love Litter's astonishing formula works like magic to neutralize that notorious cat urine odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming. And for bird lovers, it zaps moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them away, all while being safe if pecked at or ingested. And for reptiles and critters too, their mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent, ensuring those little lungs stay happy and healthy. So every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you some money. So transform your pet care routine today. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter, and breathe easy with a litter that loves your pet as much as you do. And you know what? I think we're gonna save the other two for a little bit later. They want them to be a mid-roll. So let's start with this. Let's start with Trump's Truth Social post from the day after. Actually, you know what? We'll do this in chronological order. Let's start with his clip from Davos where he talked about the election stuff. Great clip. If I can find it in my Twitter feed. Here we go. Share my screen. Did you watch his speech at Davos?
I watched the Davos speech. I watched the kind of 15-minute speech he gave before the business leaders, and I did not yet watch the Board of Peace bit.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one either, but I did watch everything you watched. So that's good.
I love that speech, by the way. I think that's one of his greatest speeches ever. Maybe the greatest speech ever.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it's funny watching the left too, how they respond to every time he does this. I mean, it's his annual teabagging of the global elite. Like he goes in there, he knows exactly who he's speaking to, and he just drags his balls across their face verbally and rhetorically. But it was masterful. And the left just like, we should all be afraid. This is dangerous rhetoric coming from the Trump administration. Like Trump has no idea what he's doing. He's clearly demented. They're really trying to push, before I play the clip, they're really trying to push that Trump is mentally unstable. Like he's got cognitive issues, which I find to be fascinating considering what they did with Biden in office there for 4 years. And they just totally looked the other way, ignored that completely. And now they're trying to fabricate some sort of mental condition in Trump.
Yeah, Biden has provided the kind of negative template for everything that Donald Trump needs to get a pass on. Joe Biden has already been worse at it. So they can't even run these stories on him. You know, they made a big deal about him saying Iceland rather than Greenland and talking about the stock market. That's the stuff that they have to go on. They can't actually go after the content of the speech, because to lay out the case that Trump lays out, to repeat that case to even their own audience while they're arguing against it, is going to make that case. Like that's the ascendant viewpoint in the country. People don't want globalism. And when the kind of establishment institutional left freaks out about that speech, they're speaking from a globalist perspective. They can call themselves American all they want. They can talk about American government. They can talk about the Constitution in little air quotes because it's kind of this abstract Constitution, but they're just making the globalist argument, and the globalist argument is dead.
Absolutely. And that's why that Atlantic article is going to be really good, because it kind of walks us through that. But yeah, let's and by the way, who doesn't get Iceland and Greenland mixed up? I do that all the time.
Yeah. I
Totally
mean,
normal.
Greenland is an ice land.
Yeah, they totally name those things inappropriately. What is it? Iceland is very nice. Greenland is full of ice. I think that's from a Mighty Ducks movie. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Iceland looks absolutely beautiful, except for the fact that it's in a cold, cold place.
Well,
I don't
all
really
of
like
the
it.
world is.
Although
in a cold,
you
cold place.
are, yeah, you're in a cold, cold place.
Now I want to find this Iceland, Greenland, Mighty Ducks. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna watch this quick first and get kicked off YouTube right off the bat.
Hey ladies, nice night for a stroll. What did you say?
That was a good one. Hey man, no curfew's gonna keep us down.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Wait a minute. I thought Iceland was covered with ice.
Iceland? No, it's very green.
I thought Greenland was green.
Greenland is covered with ice, and Iceland is very nice.
Ah.
See,
There you go.
who knew you could learn so much from Mighty Ducks movie?
Or from the Icelandic, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
All I knew about Iceland was Bjork.
Bjork? I don't even know that. What's
Well,
Bjork?
see, that's because you are in a place where there's only, 10 or 12 people.
Well, explain what Bjork is.
Bjork is a singer, kind of an interesting, eclectic pop star who has acted in a few things. She's actually in that, what's that movie Burning Bright and I did, The Northman? You ever seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
So she appears as a witch in the first act of that movie.
Hmm.
She does occasionally weird parts like that. I don't know. She's cool. She's kind of like iconic in certain ways, in certain kind of demos.
Interesting. What movie are you guys doing this coming week, by the way?
It's actually I haven't seen it, neither has he. So it's a little bit of an experiment. It's this movie called Lost in London that's kind of written, directed, and produced by Woody Harrelson.
Oh.
And it is supposed to be an example of what Francis Ford Coppola called live cinema, which is like this hybrid scripted / live produced event that is also cinema. And so, you can kind of
Interesting.
understand why we're going to just take a look at how that is. And I don't know, we don't have to go too deep into this, but we did 28 Days Later a couple of weeks ago. And that movie starts out with this little montage of what look like news clips that they're showing, displaying like riots and cultural breakdown.
Yeah.
And they look exactly like the clips we see on the news
Right
of
now, yeah.
places. Yeah. And so it's like, did they even film with real people? No, it could be just AI that they've produced and put in this film 20 years ago. Hollywood has that. Maybe, sure, they have that capacity. But you assume that like real people were there, they filmed it, and we are watching the real film of those people with effects, and it's mediated and everything. But even if it is that, the real people were acting out something that was staged. It still wasn't a real riot that they were filming. So it's like a few levels removed from being real and authentic and like spontaneously occurring in reality. So I want to see how this film treats that.
Yeah, that's interesting. 28 Days Later is great. Have you seen the new 28 Years Later?
No, I haven't, man. But seeing 28 Days Later again after so many years, man, that film blew my mind.
Yeah, 28 Years Later is really good. But like, there's two of them now that just came out. Just saw the new one like a week or two ago in theaters, and yeah, great movies.
Cool. All right.
if a zombie apocalypse breaks out,
Mhm.
hypothetically, if somebody's being like sued, do I just automatically win? Is that what happens? Does it just go away?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, if zombies are suing you and they have an apocalypse, what happens?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I mean, they
Yeah.
do wander around aimlessly looking for brains.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what this lawsuit is, except they're just looking for money. So same thing. But anyway, let's play this clip. This is from Trump at Davos in the middle of his speech. Breaking news, he calls it.
It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked.
Cuck chair. Yeah, that is kind of breaking news. It's a change of rhetoric from Trump too, because him talking about election fraud, nothing new there. He's been doing it since before he even ran in 2016. He did it all throughout his first term. He did it extensively in the lead up to the 2020 election. And then after the 2020 election, he told us repeatedly how fraudulent it was with examples. I mean, there's a great example. Just recently, even Ash brought this up on my show on Friday. In Georgia, there's some shit hitting the fan down there where they're understanding what's going on and how bad it was. And in the intro to this video, the Devolution Power Hour, there's that clip where he's like, their vote was under what they thought they needed. They were just throwing ballots in there. That's exactly what they're talking about now in Georgia as what took place. So Trump at the time knew it was happening. It's coming out now. But this is a change of rhetoric from, he's always said people should be people should go to jail. People, need to be held accountable for this. But for the first time, he's actually saying people are coming, like prosecutions are going to be happening here in the very near future. And to me, it's such a monumental step. It's not unexpected. Like we've been hoping and waiting for this to happen. But the fact that it's finally coming is such a big deal. And this is why I've been writing an article, or trying to anyway, because trying to put my thoughts into words. I feel like this almost closes the loop in a lot of senses in devolution and like what took place. Because the reason he had to implement devolution was a stolen election. And he walked away and he had, this fake whatever Biden was for 4 years. And it's almost like the timeline was paused in a lot of ways. And by prosecuting election fraud, we're going to have to unpause and like rectify what the Biden term was at some point. Because what does that mean? Biden told us leading up to, if we're right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president. Well, hey, guess what, guys? Appears we were right about the fraud. So what does that mean? And that's a conversation we're going to have to like actually have. And people in this audience are well prepared for that conversation. But I'm excited for it because this is what we've been waiting for, to see prosecutions.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with you about all of that. I look forward to the article. That one of the pieces of that you just mentioned is what my article last week is about. I think that we are coming up on some of that disclosure, if you can call it that. It's going to be portrayed to us as breaking news, even though it was known and knowable 5 years ago. And so I think that we have to have our eyes open for that. We need to know how to react to this thing, because in many ways, the Great Reset agenda is still playing right along. And that's not to say that it's the dominant power right now, or that it's going flawlessly for them or anything like that. Although it might be, we might just be getting hoodwinked on a level that we're not aware of. But the point is to mitigate the possibility of that, or to mitigate the fact that we haven't cleared out the extent of the infiltration. Well, we need to slow that process down. And we're hooked on midterms. A lot of the mainstream out there is talking about midterms all year. If we finally come to terms with the fact that our elections are fake, what does that mean? Well, if you're focused on making sure that Republicans control the government, quote unquote, after these midterm elections, you might want to get a new election system installed as fast as possible. And it seems like they're going to pressure for the same thing down in Brazil this year as well. So there will be, I think, 2 major opportunities to install this new election system that's already been planned out and prepared for us. They can just pop it right in where the new one gets pulled out without any input from the people whatsoever, and without even a wide cultural understanding of what has happened. Because, like you said, we have to reconcile the fact that Joe Biden was never president. And the auto pen is a piece of that. It's going to be easy to nullify that stuff, but that doesn't get us even close to halfway there. And there's nothing doomy about that. It's optimistic. It's saying the win is further out. We can win. We can get that win that's further out, but we have to be plowing ahead to do that. And you don't plow ahead pessimistically. So the idea that it's dooming to say no half measures, this is not good enough, is crazy.
I'm trying to picture somebody like right now riding in a snowplow down the road and just being super optimistic about it, because it's not possible to plow ahead unoptimistically or pessimistically.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, though. I mean, and the larger conversation, it isn't even just election related. It comes down to the system we have as a whole, like the entire concept of what it means to have this constitutional republic, or whatever we want to call it, democracy, whatever we want to call ourselves. That entire conversation needs to be had once this exposure comes out, because it wipes away everything in terms of what we were told for the last 5 years. It's almost like an opportunity. We have the opportunity to, okay, well, yeah, people went to jail, they did bad things, but I guess there's nothing really else we can do. Let's just keep moving on and keep trucking along in the same system. It'll be better this time around. Or the opportunity we have is to let's figure out what actually went wrong here and what is wrong with the system as a whole, and how do we fix that? Because even prosecuting election fraud, like, I don't even care who goes to jail, if I'm being honest. It's not about the who gets in trouble and what happens, because the justice system itself is a byproduct and part of the same election system that we were going to be looking into and prosecuting. It's all connected. So it doesn't really give us the win that we think it is, but it opens this door for that conversation. It is very important that everybody reads your article when it goes on Free Tomorrow. They should have all read it already because they're subscribed to you. But if not, I highly encourage everybody to read Chris's article. It'll go hand in hand with mine for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally optimistic about all of that. I want everyone to understand that elections are stolen. And once you wrap your head around the fact that elections are stolen, then you have to look at what it is our government has been doing over the period during which elections were stolen. Okay. And it's actually a little further on than that, because all the people involved in elections know what's going on behind the scenes to choose the winners of elections. And they know what's going on with the kind of the spreading around, the diluting of responsibility when it comes to elections, so that every layer of kind of a check on the integrity of the election, every single layer is a rubber stamp. The people even the people in office aren't able to check to make sure that the elections are legitimate in any way. Certainly the people have no transparency into any of that whatsoever. And then after that, you get down into discussions and arguments like the ones Jonathan Drake has on his show about whether the possibility of legitimate elections even exists, especially without an open and transparent ballot. For as long as we are in this phase of the secret ballot deciding everything, well, we're never going to have a legitimate government.
Yeah, I've been having arguments with Grok over this, like it, kind of using your framing too of it's binary, right? I thought that was brilliant what you said in your article. It's either you have legitimate elections or you don't. There's no like almost.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT or whatever, Grok, I don't remember which one, but it was ChatGPT. It was like, yeah, but I mean, you can live with a little bit of imperfections. I was like, no, that like defeats the whole system. And it just kept going on and on and on about how, yeah, we know there's some fraud, but it's not outcome determinative, all these things. And I think I finally got it on board, but still that's the argument we're going to be faced with. Like, this is the outlier, the one time we had outcome determinant fraud that's prosecuted, but now it's fine. You know, that's I feel like that's going to be the Band-Aid solution here. And, we got Maduro to give us the info on Venezuela so we can move forward, trusting that whatever we're given last minute is the answer. And we're going to be spending another 20, 30, 40 years until we're right back here again in the same spot, dealing with the same problems. It's just whether or not we choose to go down that path. And we need to be ready to make sure we don't go down that path.
Yeah. And it's not just Donald Trump. And they're going to make it out like it is just Donald Trump. Like the real problem is that Joe Biden was in there, and we all know Joe Biden's terrible, and Trump wasn't in there, and we know Trump's great. So just think about these 4 years, but we can make up for all that now. No, all the elections are the same level of zero transparency and zero integrity. The process itself is flawed, and we cannot verify the results, right? We're literally not allowed to verify the results. So why, when we know that elections are stolen, would we have any faith in the government whatsoever that any of them were legitimately elected? It's just like, it's irresponsible as patriotic Americans to allow for that. Okay.
Yeah.
It just is, right? And if we're not going to have a government of, by, and for the people, if that's not possible, if we are just going to be subjects of the global regime or, good citizens under military government or whatever it is, I'd rather just know, right? That would be something that we can wrap our heads around. And you know what? You say, hey, well, I guess I live in an authoritarian, totalitarian society where my movements are going to be continually more restricted over time, but I'm going to shift my focus to like my family and my local community and try to make the best of it. Like, we can get down with that, but telling us that we're all free people and the government is of, by, and for the people, and then it be the exact opposite of that, I don't know who stands for that.
Yeah, nobody should. And this is why it's the opportunity we're going to have here to choose that or choose subjugation, I guess, again. But this is another tweet that, or Truth Social post that Trump put out, very heavily connected to devolution. Record numbers all over the place. Should I try for a fourth term? Now, one might sit here and look at this and be like, fourth term, what is he talking about? This is his second term. But if you've been paying attention, he's been hinting about the Biden term being his term for a while now. And I think this is the compilation of that. Let me play this video. I think this is the one.
That's because you know me. I didn't take a salary. I worked my ass off. And we did a phenomenal job. We did a phenomenal job for this country. But for the first time ever, I never thought they indict their political opponent. And what that does is it sets off a chain of events that's very dangerous in future years. It could happen to them very easily. The reason Crooked Joe and his thugs are trying so hard to stop me is that in my first term, I disrupted all of it. Oh, did I disrupt? That was called major disruption. And in my second term, which we're sort of having now, but I don't want the results, right? I don't want the results of this second term. This second term is a disaster for this country. Worst president, think of it. There's never been a president like this. I say that.
That's good. I thought I had a whole compilation though, because there's like 5 or 6 instances. I couldn't find
For sure.
the right clip. But damn.
Yeah, he does it a lot.
Yeah, I'm going through my old videos to try to find it. But yeah, so that coming the day after he talks about the election fraud prosecution, I just think it's such a big deal, because that's another conversation we're going to have. Like, what did he actually do while Biden was there? I've always said Trump would have been derelict in his duty to actually walk away. And if he prosecutes the election fraud and shows that, yeah, Biden didn't legitimately win, we had this evidence way back then, people should be asking the question, okay, well, then what did you actually do here? If there was ever an opportunity to expose some sort of continuity government plan or something that was put in place, it's coming with that. It's coming on the heels of some sort of election fraud disclosure, if we actually are ready to have that conversation.
Yeah. We've talked about this before for sure, but what does it mean that the election was still under contest and Joe Biden hosted himself staged inauguration and then began pretending to be president? I argued in the piece that we were discussing earlier that he didn't seem to have much control over his administration. He handled a lot of the issues out of the fake White House across the street, There was another exact replica of the Biden White House built about 3 blocks in the other direction in Washington, D.C. He was on the beach in Rehoboth for most of it. What does it mean that the election was still under contest when he did that? Did Trump just simply walk away and put in the continuity of government like we've been discussing now for a number of years? You're the world's expert on that point of view. Whatever. Nobody spent more time on that perspective than you have, right? So foremost authority, we won't call you an expert.
I'll take expert though. or overlord, devolution overlord. Let's go with that.
That's a good one. But to go in and serve as though you're president throughout that entire time, maybe Trump just stepped back and left it under contest. At that point, nobody should be president. Still, though, the administrative state would continue to push on, and I imagine the Congress and the Senate would as well. And is that what we saw? Maybe it is. The administrative state continues to work even under Donald Trump on the same program it was running before. I don't see like every single agency of government having switched up their mode of operations since Donald Trump came back into office.
Yeah, we'll probably talk a little bit about the administrative state when we get to like the DHS topic.
Yeah,
here in a little bit. But you're absolutely right. I am the world's foremost overlord on devolution. But yeah, let's keep going here and talk about maybe the Minneapolis stuff. Did you see Pam Bondi and what she said today on Fox News about the strongly worded letter?
That was hilarious to actually announce a strongly worded letter as a strongly worded letter.
Yeah, we're going to watch that. But first, let's watch what took place today. Another shooting, allegedly. I want to find a good clip here. Let's do this one. So some guy was acting a fool.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Not again! Are you fucking kidding me?
Not again.
Yeah, I think they might have killed him. But they said he had a gun.
Yep.
Anyway, Tim Walz comes out and says this. I can get to the clip. This is the one.
Needs to be the event that the public knows, and this needs to be the event that says enough. Go ahead. No, I'm up front.
You or Commissioner Davidson speak to the fact that you talk about we don't trust the federal government to handle this investigation. We know with the Renee Good shooting, BCA said that they were blocked from accessing evidence. Has there been any suggestion that BCA is not allowed to do this investigation? Do you have office?
I don't think this is the right clip. I think this is the one I'm looking for. There we go.
Can you tell us whether they're going to be playing a role?
Yeah. Yes, the answer is yes, we have, as we said last week, and we staged those troops. I'll have General Menke talk about where they're at, and again, use this as an opportunity to stress to Minnesotans the frustration you have. And as you saw this, they killed a man, created chaos, pushed down protesters, threw gas indiscriminately, and then left the scene, and then we're left to clean up. I understand the anger. I understand trying to parse who were the law enforcement on the scene when you got there after a man was killed is difficult for folks who are out there. But I can't stress enough, our goal, and I'll have General Menke talk about what the role of these Guard troops are in conjunction with incredible work from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, from mutual aid across, and of course the State Patrol, of trying to get to the point where what we're saying is we can handle this and Minnesotans can express their First Amendment rights and have our folks on the streets and get these people out of here. And so, John, if you want to talk a little bit, but the answer is yes, there's activated. He can talk to you about numbers.
The sign language people are so distracting. They should put them in like a separate corner. But anyway, yeah, so it looks like they're going to activate the National Guard. The real question is, are they going to be there to assist ICE? It kind of doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's
Right.
more going to be in opposition to ICE, which should make for an interesting little standoff, I think.
Well, we talked last week about how the Insurrection Act talk had sparked back up. We've been dealing with court cases on that. And now what you have is the potential for a governor to call out the state militia against the incursion of federal forces. That's legitimately what they're dealing with. I know that we don't talk about those things that way, generally speaking, and everything gets filtered through the political lens that says we have all these illegal aliens in the country that have to go. ICE is the agency that is going to get all of those illegal aliens and take them out of the country. Therefore, we support ICE, even when it does things that we wouldn't otherwise support or wouldn't support if a different administration was running things. But at the end of the day, the issue is still the issue. He's calling out the state militia to defend the state, perhaps in place of those federal forces, which is exactly, by the way, what should happen. And hopefully that's what does happen. And then they become responsible about crime and immigration and other things in Minnesota. I don't know that we're going to have that nice, happy conclusion. And in lieu of that, what we're going to have is the state militia against the federal forces that the governor doesn't want in the state. And if the situation was cleared of all the political lens, I would side with the governor in the state calling out the state militia to repel the federal incursion.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. And I don't think anybody's framed it that way before, but that's you're exactly right. And, I'd be supportive without the political stuff going on of a governor calling in a state militia to repel federal forces too.
Yeah.
It's a good point. And I don't think anybody's thought about it that way before.
They did deal with this, and I wish that I had thought of this earlier today and gone in and looked at it. But you remember the stuff on the border with the Biden administration and Greg Abbott?
Yes.
Yeah, same thing, really. I mean, the same underlying issue. Obviously, the scale of that PSYOP is much smaller than the scale of this PSYOP. And I hate to say it, guys, but levels upon levels of PSYOP and all this. Not saying nobody got shot. Okay. Maybe someone did get shot, but this looks like the second season of Minnesota Race War. And that is not a hard scene to stage. And I'll also call everybody's attention to the fact that the DHS funding is up this week as we approach the potential for a government shutdown. And Jake Sherman, who's like the main congressional reporter, was out there today saying there's no way Democrat senators are going to be able to plausibly vote to keep funding DHS after this incident. So is that a huge development? Yes, that would be a huge development.
When the Texas situation went off, it wasn't the Texas National Guard repelling federal forces, though. They were enforcing the border even when the Biden administration wouldn't, correct? At Eagle Pass
right.
or whatever?
Right. I think that was it. Yes.
Okay.
But
I mean,
it was
it's a little bit different.
So,
but
right. The dynamic is certainly different, but it's a state versus federal issue. And the specific issue at the heart of this is immigration. And while we're on the topic of the border, I think it's important for everybody to remember that over the years, as we have talked about border security, the uniparty dynamic has been the left wants to allow all the illegal aliens in, and the right wants to keep the illegal aliens out. Now, the right never actually keeps the illegal aliens out, and their solution is always more border security. And more border security means they're going to increase the technological surveillance at the border. The concern has always been that is the practice run for when they turn that exact same thing into the interior of the country. And we can see today, like Joe Lonsdale, who is one of the Palantir founders, was out there retweeting Cam Higbee, who's like a TP USA reporter who did this big thread about how he's infiltrated like an Antifa chat group and they actually want to go out and kill people and all this nonsense. So you have Palantir and TPUSA teaming up, pushing this same shit forward, right? That is the technological surveillance infrastructure. If it's going to be brought into the interior of the country, it's going to be by people like Joe Lonsdale for events like the one we're seeing today.
Yeah, this is the tweet you're talking about. This is an organized illegal insurgency and should be treated as such. Echoes of Whiskey Rebellion. If it was the right doing this, it would be back to back as a threat on the news, and the left would put it down. But the GOP right does not know how to use power and discipline. But Palantir, I bet, does.
Yeah.
Do you have this clip that you sent over a Newsmax article from Chad Wolf talking about the Insurrection Act?
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen to this real quick.
Well, and this is former DHS under Trump.
Former acting DHS.
Acting
yes.
DHS, sorry.
I think they may have parted on not great terms.
It seemed like that.
In the public narrative anyway.
Yeah.
A legal basis for him to do it, given the events over today and really the last couple of weeks. So I don't think there's a legal issue any longer. It's just a question for the president politically on when he wants to do that. It'll be curious. We need to watch the deployment of these National Guard by the governor, because what I heard today in a press conference is the Guard is being deployed to protect local police facilities, not federal law enforcement facilities, and certainly not ICE agents on the ground there. So I think it's a something that needs to be watched to see exactly what's going on there, and to ensure that you've got ICE officers continuously to be protected. But look, I've listened to the press conferences today, and I think the governor's comments, as well as the mayor's for that matter, these are unserious individuals. I think that they are embarking on a campaign of disinformation. I think they need to be investigated and certainly prosecuted if they've broken a law. But when the governor gets on his press conference and before the microphone and says that DHS is not a law enforcement agency, that's just a flat out lie. And I think the governor knows that. I think intentionally he's making that comment for any number of reasons. But DHS, just so let me edify the governor, DHS is the largest law enforcement agency in the country, over 70,000 law enforcement officers. So the governor needs to get his facts straight, but most importantly, he needs to work with ICE. He needs to let his local law enforcement work with ICE. I see more on the streets now that the sun is going down, but they should have been out there this morning as well.
There we go. We have a new angle on the shooting today. Do you want to see the new angle?
Oh, sure.
Whoa!
Is that mace they're spraying with them with, or what?
I don't know.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh!
There's quite a few shots that were fired, but there we go. I want to show the Pam Bondi clip now quick too. This is hysterical.
Rape, homicide, manslaughter. That's who they're trying to protect in Minnesota. I do not understand these people. We sent Governor Walz a very strong letter today. We had been working on this letter. We got it out saying that he better support President Trump. He better support the men and women in law enforcement, because if he doesn't, we are. And that's what we're doing right now.
Were there any consequences in this letter?
Well, we'll see. This is fluid. Let's see how Governor Walz responds. Let's see what he does based on this, based on what's happening right now. But this administration is going to support the citizens. We're going to support our great men and women in law enforcement.
I mean, if you think about it, we could all wield the same power and authority as Pam Bondi and said strongly worded letters to Tim Walz that do the same exact thing as hers does.
Actually, all of the people sending strongly worded letters to Tim Walz might be more impactful than Pam Bondi doing it.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I mean, if everybody in Minnesota sent a letter to Tim Walz, maybe he would actually have to do something.
Yeah, I doubt they care. They don't respond to what the people want, but you're absolutely right. I think I think it has a better chance of the Pam body. But what, like, who is her PR person? Does she have one? She must not. Because every time she goes on Fox News, she puts her foot directly in her mouth.
Well, maybe. Have you seen the letter?
No, they posted it?
Yeah. I mean, I was sent one that I assume is real because Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut, was out there talking about it. She's requesting their voter registration information in the letter as well.
Oh my gosh, I think. Oh yeah, this is it. Okay, so Governor Walz, the state of Minnesota has refused to enforce the law. The consequences are heartbreaking. Blah blah. December.
It's close to the end. There's there's 2 pages. Yeah. So go ahead.
Unfortunately, you guys have not listened. Think blah blah blah.
So I think it's 3rd. Yeah. Oh, one more page. There you go.
Okay, well, let's read through the things. You and your office must restore the rule of law, support ICE officers, and bring an end to the chaos in Minnesota. Fortunately, there are common sense solutions to these problems that I hope we can accomplish together. First, share all of Minnesota's records on Medicaid and food and nutrition service programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program data, with the federal government. Allowing the federal government to efficiently investigate fraud will save Minnesota taxpayers money and ensure that Minnesota's welfare funds are being used to help those in need, not enrich fraudsters. How do we not have that information in the first place as a federal government? The federal government is the ones giving them the money.
One would think, and isn't it great that it's a political issue for the fake 2026 midterms that Republicans are going to run on cleaning up all this fraud? People like Chip Roy, who's running for AG in Texas, he's been in the House for 8 years, and he was on Bannon last week talking about how he's going to go after all this fraud as Attorney General. It's like, dude, didn't you have oversight over appropriations while you were in Congress? You didn't have oversight into appropriations into Texas. And under that oversight, it's not like your fiduciary responsibility to make sure that your state wasn't defrauding the federal government and the money you're sending them. So I guess
we have so many problems. The fraud thing is so annoying. I've been bitching about this for a long time. Did you see one of Trump's comments on at Davos when he's like, if we get rid of 50% of the fraud, we can balance the budget. And the deficit, the deficit was like 1.7 billion or trillion. And so therefore the fraud in this country is 3.5 trillion. I mean, it's asinine, even though that's probably not exact, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's more than they're bringing in individual income taxes. And that's retarded.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Second in the letter here, repeal the sanctuary policies that have led to so much crime and violence in your state. Removing criminal illegal aliens from Minnesota neighborhoods will save lives, and state and local officials should support this goal. All detention facilities in your state should cooperate fully with ICE, honor immigration detainers, and permit ICE to interview detainees in custody to determine immigration status. I urge you to reach an agreement with ICE that allows them to remove illegal aliens in custody of Minnesota's prisons and jails and avoids pushing these interactions into your streets. Third, allow the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to access voter rolls to confirm that Minnesota's voter registration practices comply with federal law as authorized by the Civil Rights Act of 1960. Fulfilling this common sense request will better guarantee free and fair elections and boost confidence in the rule of law. I'm confident these steps will help bring back law and order to Minnesota. I'm committed to enforcing federal immigration laws. Do not obstruct federal immigration enforcement. Do not allow rioters to take over the streets and houses of worship. Do not hinder federal officials from investigating financial fraud and violations of election laws. Whether state and local politicians stand in the way or not, we will work every day to protect Americans and make Minnesota safe again. I request that you join us in that effort. This letter is meaningless. Doesn't do anything. This is retarded.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it provides notice, but beyond that, and it makes a story for the public.
Yeah, it's campaign fodder. It's what a social media influencer would do if they're pretending to do their job.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kristi Noem at DHS is doing exactly that. And let's just also remember, by the way, DHS was set up in the kind of post 9/11 phase, the Patriot Act, all of that. DHS has been like in control of immigration for the last 2 decades, and immigration has gotten substantially worse, as have we were talking about this earlier. You pulled up some of their other functions. It's not like DHS has done a bang up job. DHS has offices. They have people in 75 countries in the world.
Which makes no
sense. Yes, it's basically like the global regime police state being operated out of the United States. And it's under the executive branch, but all of these agencies, or many of these agencies under DHS, are or were the quote unquote independent agencies that are, first of all, unconstitutional, and second of all, not actually independent. And so you have like this, like the police state part of the global regime, bureaucratic, administrative deep state, still very much in place under the legitimate Trump government. This is the same thing that we've been talking about for a couple of years. There's the base layer, the proper legitimate layer, to the extent that there's one of those, and then this abstraction layer on top of it. And I would suggest that the DHS is in that abstraction layer, and the funding's coming up at the end of the week. Is DHS something that the American people should keep funding? And yes, I agree with everybody, again, through the political lens. I agree with you about illegal aliens. They shouldn't be in this country. They need to be taken out by somebody. Okay. But that is a principled issue that can be handled in a number of ways. This is a particular practical issue. Should this, I guess now it's a cabinet level agency, should that department exist at all? And the answer is no.
Well, what did Trump do, Chris, when he first got into office? One of the first executive orders he signed was having the military go and handle the border, which part of their, mission is to defend the homeland, right?
Right. Yeah.
They should be the ones doing it. We don't need
That's right.
an agency to do it. But yeah, when I looked up the DHS and just asked, like, what are their top 5 like things that they're supposed to be doing? Terrorism. It's only gotten worse. I mean, 9/11 was like the big one, but especially domestic threats, those are up. Border crossings, it goes up and down, but mostly up. Unauthorized population, it's worse, much higher than in the mid 2010s. Cyber crimes, they've gone from like 2,000 incidences in a year to like 2,000 a day. Those have gotten worse, which, I mean, as technology advances, that kind of makes sense, but still. And then disasters too, just regular like disaster resilience, emergency management type stuff. That's also worse. They average 6.7 events a year in the 2000s, 13.1 in 2010s, and now 23 in 2020 to 2024. It's crazy.
Yep.
Everything's gotten worse. So what is the point of an agency if they can't even do what they're tasked to do? They're doing something else, probably.
Yeah, and then you got CISA as well. And
Yep.
again, I would suggest if this is the global regime's implementation of their techno surveillance police state in the United States, then you'd expect them to have all of those various functions, and you'd expect them to do a really terrible job from the perspective of Americans who care about their sovereignty, because they're doing a really great job from the perspective of the global regime and the transnational corporations that will be operating that techno surveillance police state.
Yeah, our scriv for $20 in the chat says, does it occur to anyone that Bondi knows that strongly worded letter, in quotes, is a trigger
Yes.
and a laughing stock for us? Perhaps she said that today as a message.
Yes, I would say that's probably more likely than not.
And Ash says, by the way, everyone, bowling hack. Focus your eyes on where you want the ball to go more than you think about throwing it. Also, go bowling is fun. That's so weird. That's what I've been doing wrong. I always close my eyes when I bowl.
Really?
Yeah, maybe I need to start looking at what I'm aiming at. Didn't know that was what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I always was looking at the that second set of arrows. You want to hit the target, but that's
Are you a spinner when you bowl?
I was so annoyed at bowling the normal way that I started trying to like get the spin going.
Yeah, we should do a Badlands bowling outing at one of these cards.
We should do that.
That'd be fun. Do teams, have a prize. I want to get to some of these Jake Sherman tweets about DHS and some of the funding stuff coming up. But before we do that, we got a couple sponsors we got to get to. First up, we got CB Distillery. What if your only resolution this year was to get better sleep? Just imagine how much more energy you'd have. You'd handle stress better. Pretty much all your goals would be easier, right? That's why the smart way to start 2026 is with CBD from CB Distillery. Get this, over 90% of CBD customers say they sleep better with CBD, and that's pretty darn tough to beat. And when you sleep better, everything feels better. CB Distillery has options for more than just sleep. They have solutions for stress relief, mood, and pain after workouts. You can shop by benefits, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. I've been using this. I do the sleep one, but also this calm and clarity one, the Om. And
oh yeah,
I dig it. I dig it. I started taking that just I think it was Tuesday. I think I got them Monday. I started taking them Tuesday, Wednesday. Bernie Bright and I were talking about it. He loves them too. They're good shit. Everything from CB Distillery is premium quality, third-party tested, and free of artificial dyes or fillers. They have over 2 million happy customers and a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're ready to start the year off right, go to cbdistillery.com. Use code DPH for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code DPH. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. So if your state sucks, you might not be able to get these, but I would check first. And then we also got one more from Rumble Studio. It's MCG Tactical. Get this pulled up. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to shoot with the same precision tech used by U.S. Special Forces? Well, good news. After years of research and development, MCG Tactical just dropped something incredible. The Stinger Combat Sight. This isn't your average red dot. Using holographic technology, once reserved for elite military and law enforcement, the Stinger delivers crystal clear precision, so accurate, you can hit a dime at 300 yards without even trying. This is the exact same level of technology used by the pros, but here's the twist. Most sites like this go for $600 or more, and people happily pay it. But right now, through an exclusive deal with MCG Tactical, you can get this military spec sight for under $200. And it gets better. For my listeners, you're getting 67% off, and they're covering the shipping. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to https://mcgtac.com/sting to get yours today. The only catch, supplies tight, and these are already flying off the shelves. So if you want a site built for the best, now is your chance. Grab yours before they have to shut down the orders. mcgtac.com/sting. Sounds cool. I don't have that kind of gun though where I can use it.
Yeah.
Must have been what Thomas Crooks was using. No. Who's the one? Which one is that?
That
Crooks
was
is the Trump one.
Trump assassination event. Yeah.
So he was not using this probably.
I took a look yesterday at the photo of Trump from the RNC a couple of days later. Do you remember that? How he looked? Hold on a second.
While you're doing that, JBA 512 gifted 10 subscriptions. Black Hat Destroyer did as well. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Appreciate you.
Gosh, where is it? Did I delete it? Man, I download so many things and then delete them so quickly. It then takes me a second to find it in the trash. What a jackass.
Oh no.
I just ruined everything. We had this very consistent flow going. Now I've destroyed our flow.
We might as well just end the show right now, I think. I don't know if we can recover.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We're going to recover right now.
We'll see about that, Chris.
Yeah.
Better be good.
Yeah. Do you remember this?
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's so funny.
Is it a MyPillow commercial?
It is. I think we turned it into a MyPillow commercial.
Did we?
I think we did. That's crazy.
Remember that? How dramatic that was back then?
I mean, I'd do that too if I got clipped in the ear. I'd wear that thing for a while.
Yeah. You got to wear it for a while. But instead he wore it for 2 days.
Yeah. And it looked so ridiculous.
Yeah. So that was Thomas Matthew Crooks. And I don't know if that's the one that you were talking about. Then we also
meant the
have
other one. I meant the Kirk one.
Tyler Robert. Yeah.
Tyler Robinson.
Robinson.
Man,
isn't it crazy that if never mind.
Say it.
Oh, no.
Say it. Come on.
It's not worth it.
It's always worth it though, because you know what? The people who are going to be mad at you for saying it, they're already mad at you anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, they're mad at me all the time.
Yeah, and they probably don't even watch at this point. So I feel like the people here
so crazy. Isn't that wild that people are like, that guy's not saying the thing that other people are saying. He's the bad one.
It's retarded, bro. But it's okay. I feel like we've weeded most of them out. But that's okay. Whatever. You don't have to say. I'm not going to force you.
No.
You are sovereign, but you're going to tell me later. I'll hold you to that.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to make an Erica Kirk joke, but I wasn't sure if I had nailed down the sentence structure well enough. And so I ducked.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were talking a little bit about Erica Kirk last night.
Oh, well, Yeah,
OnlyFans.
corner what?
Pretty much a fame whore, like a
Oh,
fame
yeah.
bag.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she was on multiple reality shows and stuff like leading up to, marrying Charlie Kirk, and now she got what she always wanted. She's famous.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I was going to play off that, but you got to nail that joke,
Yeah.
Can't
Okay.
half-ass it. So
You're absolutely right. Let's talk about what Jake Sherman said. Jake Sherman shed. That's a tongue twister. This is at 3:19 today. The ICE situation is a nightmare for the Senate. Cannot see a scenario in which Senate Dems can vote for the 6-bill package, which includes DHS funding. Government shuts down Friday. First Senate procedural vote likely not until Wednesday, giving them limited room to maneuver. House on recess. Any changes to the bill would require the House shut down, a real possibility at this point, which is great news for people who think the government is illegitimate and should not be existing in its current form anyway. The bill, by the way, I've gone through it a little bit, 1,069 pages or something crazy. Retarded number of pages, but go ahead.
I think that there's 2 more Jake Sherman tweets that I sent your way.
I got them right here.
Those, yeah, cool.
This is the one that came afterwards at 5:50. Breaking news: Schumer says Dems won't advance funding bill with DHS. Today, Senate Democrat leader Schumer released the following statement on the appropriations bill following the shooting in Minnesota. What's happening in Minnesota is appalling and unacceptable in any American city. Democrats sought common sense reforms in the Department of Homeland Security spending bill, but because of Republicans' refusal to stand up to President Trump, the DHS bill is woefully inadequate to rein in the abuses of ICE. I will vote no. Senate Democrats will not provide the votes to proceed to the appropriations bill if the DHS funding bill is included. What a guy.
Incited the erection.
And then one more here. We got the challenge of a funding impasse this time around is that Trump R's would have to agree with Democrats that ICE needs new policies and methods, and Trump R's do not seem close at all to that.
Yeah. And so isn't that interesting? Because so there's also this, which I saw this yesterday. Hold on, I'm sending it to you in the chat. And thought, who's the penguin? That's got to be Jerry Nadler. And I was like, no, it's Chuck Schumer. And now today we see this Chuck Schumer news. Sounds like Schumer's going to have,
oh my gosh,
have a big week this week. And if Republicans, so the argument is that Trump is not going to go against Republicans and allow the DHS funding to be cut. But what if that's the rug and Trump is like, oh yeah, cut DHS funding. If we could get out of DHS, wouldn't you just up or down vote, keep DHS? I would say that's a down vote, and we'll figure out some other way to handle the immigration problem. Maybe we'll just carve out Customs and Border Patrol or ICE or one of these agencies out of DHS, make that its own thing under the Department of War or something, and then still take care of the immigration problem while we get rid of DHS and begin removing the stain of the Patriot Act from the country. I would take that deal.
Yeah. And this is interesting too, because we just had a Supreme Court fight where Trump was like, does he have the authority to bring in the National Guard in Illinois? And they made up this whole argument about how he has to be able to show that he can't do it with the military and all these different things and law enforcement. What if the law enforcement that handles border stuff and immigration isn't funded and can't operate at all? Well, who do you use? You're probably going to use the military to do that job instead. And so that kind of sets up an interesting legal situation there too.
Yes. And again, that's when you have to play it back and say, if that spending issue is of considerable size and that's going to be the ultimate result, well, then you need a story to get the country to that point so that they side with the right side of that issue. What's the story that does that? Well, it's this kind of sketchy looking shooting event that we had just this morning while everyone is trapped inside and staring at their screens for 72 hours this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. We do have a Badlander. I can't say who it is for security and safety reasons, but somebody who's come to a few conferences, been in the chat. He's now working with ICE.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
for that reason alone, I don't want him to lose the job he just got.
Well, then ICE will be the one that we carve out and we just put under the Department of War.
Yeah, there we go. Otherwise, yeah, DHS do not care in the slightest. I mean, the problems we have with DHS, like the election stuff, CISA, the one thing I think Trump did do related to CISA this term was he cut out the funding for those organizations that I talked about in my part 5, the ESI, ASC, or whatever. I can't remember the exact acronym, but he cut out those 2 things. But other than that, it's remained largely intact and pretty relevant to our elections and everything. Nothing's really changed. So, yeah, I mean, addressing the Patriot Act situation, like you said, it's a must. And I wonder if there's any, devolution related nuggets we could find in those discussions potentially.
I would suggest there probably are. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
It is. It's definitely interesting. But the DHS, man, that seems like one of those ones that has to go. That is like the crown jewel on neoconservatism turned against the people of the United States of America. And, I understand that our audience is probably largely Republicans of that era. And all good, man, all good. But remember, if you consider that 9/11 was, and I know that the buildings came down, I literally know people who perished, okay? But it's still a psyop. And the psyop part changed our country. That's how powerful the psyop part was, because the real event was there as well, and I get that. But the psyop was used for all sorts of purposes, and that was like the neoconservative victory over the United States of America. Undoing that is an important part of the Trump project, and I would suggest that getting rid of DHS is a big part of that.
Yeah, Ash just sent me a video of her while she was in community notes on that post or something.
Which one?
The post with the penguin.
Ah.
I want to play this, but I want to get her permission first before I do. But anyway, you're right about the DHS, the PSYOP, and everything having to do with that. 9/11, the Patriot Act discussion was pretty heavily discussed. I want to say like 3-4 years ago. I'm trying to remember why, but something happened where I know we've had this discussion on air on one of the shows having to do with the repealing of the Patriot Act. Maybe it was one of the FISA stuff that was coming up, like one of the votes where, and then Trump and like Barr and those people were all like, yeah, we do need to reauthorize FISA, but it's like illegal surveillance of everybody's phones and shit. Like, why are we doing this? It was something along those lines. I know we've had this discussion before, but
Trump was also out there talking about FEMA today too. FEMA was brought under DHS in this same period. And prior to that, FEMA was outside of it. But, FEMA's not something that I think the whole lot of people are big fans of. Why do we have these agencies? Why is the federal government doing all of these things? It's just such a shit show. And the system is so big and so intricately connected across the entire spectrum of it that the problem seems too large to solve. And so instead we just avert our gaze and choose not to solve it and pretend it's not there so that it doesn't bother us. And I think that we have had it proven, most of us in this community at least have had it proven over the last 5 or 6 years that is not a tenable solution going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the big talk was at Biden's last year in office was about the North Carolina disasters and all these things and how FEMA couldn't do shit.
And Trump was saying that.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there's a single agency that there hasn't been an issue with over the course of the past, just since Trump was in office in 2016. You could probably go through every single major agency, all 456,000 million of them, however many there are. And there's probably a major story of a scandal or them not being used appropriately or something, a major breaking. And all of those were opportunities to have the discussion of whether or not the agency should exist at all. It was probably down party lines when the good guys were in office, our guys, the good guys, whatever. You took one side of the issue. When the other side was in office, you took the other side of the issue because that's what everybody does with every single issue. I saw a post today. Did you share the one where it's like conservatives and liberals are taking opposite sides of the same issue or something? And let me find this post. I think it was you who sent that in the chat, didn't you?
Could be. Well, I mean, about the Second Amendment stuff with Minnesota.
Maybe. I think it was that.
Because yeah, right now, Democrats are out there being like, federal officers can't shoot this guy just for carrying a weapon. He's allowed to carry a weapon. So, man, that's cool. Democrats go out and support the Second Amendment and call for the shutdown of DHS. I can get on board with that. And by the way, I think that we should be interested in taking advantage of those opportunities to say, hey, commies, you're wrong about a whole bunch of shit, but yeah, go ahead. You're totally right about wanting to defend the right for an American citizen to carry a weapon and not be shot by a federal agent for carrying a weapon. So I'm down with that.
I can't find the post. It was so good too. Damn it. Well, never mind. Okay, Ash.
One that I sent today.
I thought so. Or maybe it was one that
it is today, right? Because I definitely sent that post today. I think maybe it was just a picture, though, John. Were you looking for just the pictures?
Yeah,
it was Dean Phillips. It's this.
Oh yeah. For years, I quietly mocked 2A defenders who argued arms were necessary to defend American rights against a tyrannical government. Today, I apologize because I've seen with my own eyes.
Yeah. And he was one of those Democrats that was running to be president in the fake campaign of 2024.
That's right. Okay, Ash said we could play that video. I want to play this video. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but it has to do with the penguin meme. And I'm going to play it this way. So she had community notes access for a period of time. And so she has behind the scenes access to vote on community notes. It was revoked. But this is what they were saying. Penguins don't exist in Greenland or anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere. This is an official government account. It can't make fun or jokes. The point of its existence is making factual and clear communication. Penguins do not live in Greenland. Misleading. Trump is unable to walk in a straight line. Penguins live in Antarctica. Okay. Penguins cannot hold flags. That's great. There are no penguins in Greenland. Okay. I get the gist of it. Thank you for sending that over, Ash. Too funny. What else there's one more thing. We should go through that Atlantic article because I feel like there's so much in there that we could talk about. I highlighted quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you want to go into. Is there anything else about the DHS you want to talk about?
No, I mean, nothing I can think of offhand.
Okay. Well, let's do this then. So this is the article. It's on the heels of Trump being at Davos. Actually, it might have come before he was there. He spoke.
I'm pretty
from
sure.
last Sunday.
The article's from last Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was before he went and spoke at Davos.
Yeah, I guess so.
Southern's going to be real mad once he sees what Trump said there after writing this article. So,
yeah, good call.
America versus the world. President Trump wants to return to the 19th century's international order. He will leave America less prosperous and the world less secure. By Robert Kagan. Do you want to talk about who that guy is?
Robert Kagan is Victoria Nuland's husband. And I think that he was Bill Kristol's partner at Project for a New American Century. There it is.
Yep.
Fellow at the Brookings Institution, totally globalist, Foreign Affairs Policy Board, co-founder. Congratulations to him. Yale, Harvard, and American University. How about that? He is just as globalist and neocon as can be. He's like top 5 all-time neocon. And neoconservatism is downstream from Trotsky. This is just violent revolution everywhere, all the time, backed up by America as the global police force. And that is essentially what he's arguing for in this Atlantic article.
Yeah, he was an early advocate for military action in Syria, Iran, and Afghanistan, as well as to remove Mr. Hussein and his regime from power. Wonder how he felt about what Trump did with Maduro. He's also a Jew,
yeah.
by the way. So Ghost,
Yes.
if you're here, I'll watch for your Spurge out in the chat over that. But let's get into it. We don't have to read all of this because, as you can see, I highlighted quite a bit, but I think there's just some interesting lines, and I think it's interesting to see how the left or whatever the regime, the enemy, is framing things of what Trump's doing here.
Mhm.
Because we look at Trump and how he's disrupting and basically destroying the global order as a good thing,
Yep.
and they look at it as a bad thing, and that's rather interesting. The Trump administration's national security strategy made it official. The American-dominated liberal world order is over. This is not because the United States proved materially incapable of sustaining it. Rather, the American order is over because the United States has decided that it no longer wishes to play its historically unprecedented role of providing global security. The American might that upheld the world order of the past 80 years will now be used instead to destroy it. Americans are entering the most dangerous world they have known since World War II, one that will make the Cold War look like child's play and the post-Cold War world like a paradise. In fact, this new world will look a lot like the world prior to 1945. I feel like there's some like calling Trump Hitler vibes here, just without him actually saying it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
With multiple great powers and metastasizing competition and conflict, the U.S. will have no reliable friends or allies and will have to depend entirely on its own strength to survive and prosper. Although later he says that we're going to be allies with China and Russia, so that's not true. This will require more military spending, not less, because the open access to overseas resources, markets, and strategic bases that Americans have enjoyed will no longer come as a benefit of the country's alliances. Instead, they will have to be contested and defended against other great powers. Americans are neither materially nor psychologically ready for this future. For 8 decades, they have inhabited a liberal international order shaped by America's predominant strength. They have grown accustomed to the world operating in a certain way. Largely agreeable and militarily passive European and Asian allies cooperate with the United States on economic and security issues. Challenges to the order, such as Russia and China, are constrained by the combined wealth and might of the U.S. and its allies. Global trade is generally free and unhampered by geopolitical rivalry. Oceans are safe for travel, and nuclear weapons are limited by agreements on their production and use. They're so accustomed to this basically peaceful, prosperous, and open world that they tend to think it is the normal state of international affairs, likely to continue indefinitely. They can't imagine it unraveling, much less what unraveling will mean for them. So this is how he's setting up the entire article. I don't know if you have anything you want to say on it.
Yeah. No, let's keep going.
Okay. Since the end of the Cold War, influential critics have been telling us that American dominance is superfluous and costly at best, destructive and dangerous at worst. Let's skip down. Recently, Trump's boosters among the foreign policy elite have even started pointing to the early 19th century concert of Europe as a model for the future, suggesting that skillful diplomacy among the great powers can preserve peace more effectively than the U.S.-led system did in the unipolar world. As a purely historical matter, this is delusional. So he's saying, like, he sees the writing on the wall here of this multipolar world order where there's Trump with the Western Hemisphere, and then it's the regions of responsibility that we've been talking about. Trump, Russia, China, the great powers, and everybody else kind of bends the knee and falls in line. And this guy is framing it as, well, no, we need to be the ones that make sure that doesn't happen anywhere. Everybody needs to suck off the teat of the American taxpayer, and that's how it has to be. Like, why are we changing things? He's trying to use fear, essentially, to push this rhetoric. And
Yeah,
this
I mean,
skip a lot. So go ahead.
I took a lot of this article kind of directly as a threat, and I think that's how he intends it. What he's saying, if you are a representative of the global regime and the United States of America has been your hammer for 80 years or 100 years or 130 years, and you can send the American military around the world to subdue foreign nations and bring them into that global order, and people like Robert Kagan call that an American order. That's not an American order. It is a globalist occupation in America. It is this external entity that is embedded into our society. And if that entity is removed from America and no longer has control over America, but they want to have the same strength in the world and throughout the world, well, they need another base of operations. And so they want to take it back to Europe. And what he's saying is, well, we still have the money. We still have enough people who are down with our ideology. we can absolutely find enough people out there who will support this cause that if we properly arm them and fund them and run the media operations and the rest of it, well, we can create the situation we had in America in another place. And that place is then going to wage war against all these other countries indefinitely, and they will have to be protected by the dominant superpowers in these regions. And so he's essentially saying, well, if you want to do the multipolar thing, that's fine. We'll wage war with all of you everywhere we can, and you will always have a war on your hands. So you don't want our control. Well, you're going to have war all the time.
Yeah. Spot on. That's exactly what it says. It is a threat. I agree. I read it as a threat too. And almost like a form of acceptance as well, which was kind of the vibe at Davos too. It's like the message went out that this is the way things are going to be. They have to accept it and like just go with it now. And this essay or whatever reads very much like that. In the decades after 1945, almost all of the countries that had fought in the world wars gave up their territorial ambitions, their spheres of interest, and even to some extent power itself. Britain, France, Germany, and Japan not only relinquished centuries of great power thinking and conduct, but placed their security and the well-being of their people in the hands of the distant American superpower. This was truly aberrant behavior and defied all theories of international relations as well as historical precedent. The normal response to the rise of newly predominant power was for others to balance against it. Coalitions had formed to check Louis XIV, Napoleon, both Imperial and Nazi Germany, and Imperial Japan. Yet far from regarding the United States as a danger to be contained, most of the world's powers saw it as a partner to be enlisted. America's allies made two remarkable wagers: that the United States could be trusted to defend them whenever needed, and that it would not exploit its disproportionate might to enrich or strengthen itself at their expense. To the contrary, it would promote and benefit from its allies' economic prosperity. But in reality, it would rip us off at every opportunity and take advantage of us, not the other way around.
Yeah, and go around the world doing terrible things in our name and having good, brave American patriots be put into situations where they were called upon to do terrible things. And that's obviously not fair to them. Yeah, it's terrible what this very entity that he is arguing on behalf of has accomplished in the world.
Yeah, and this just makes me think here too of the Five Eyes intelligence.
Yep.
They obviously saw Trump as a threat going back to 2016. They were the ones that participated in a lot of that Russiagate stuff. I don't know if we have yet, but cutting off ties with them completely, that's got to be coming, if it hasn't already, after this weekend and with the writing on the wall, because a lot of the countries they listen here are the countries in Five Eyes. This was the grand bargain of the American order after 1945, and it was what allowed for the extraordinary peace and stability of the subsequent decades, even during the Cold War. The American order established harmony among the great powers within it and left those outside it, Russia and China, relatively isolated and insecure, unhappy with the global arrangement, but limited in their ability to change it. All of that is now ending. Trump has openly celebrated the end of the grand bargain. His administration has told Europeans to be ready to take over their own defense by 2027 and suggested that allies and strategic partners, including Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea, should pay the U.S. for protection. Trump has launched aggressive tariff wars against virtually all of America's allies. He has waged ideological and political warfare against European governments and explicitly threatened territorial aggression against two NATO allies in Canada and Denmark. Meanwhile, the administration's national security strategy regards Russia and China not as adversaries or even competitors, but as partners in carving up the world. With its significant emphasis on restoring American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere, Trump's strategy embraces a multipolar world in which Russia, China, and the United States exercise total dominance in their respective spheres of interest. And what I find fascinating about that is, like, to somebody who's totally new to politics and just like reading this, like, oh my God, Trump is actually willing to like work with Russia and China and stuff. Like, no way. But if you've been paying attention to Badlands at all, we've been literally talking about this for 4 years. So nice to see that the Atlantic is catching up. Trump and his supporters seem to believe that the rest of the world will simply accommodate this new American approach, and that allies in particular will continue to tag along, subservient to a United States that cuts them loose strategically, exacts steep economic tribute from them, and seeks to establish a concert with the powers that directly threaten them. but the radical shift in U.S. strategy must force equally radical shifts among erstwhile friends and allies. There's the threat.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the threat. I don't even agree with his analysis there at all. I mean, we don't believe that other countries will simply accommodate this approach, and we don't believe that our quote unquote allies are going to stay in the mix. And we also don't give a shit. That's the point. Like, those are not the good allies. What did those allies do for us? I know what we did for them. We like sponsored it so that they can go on like 6-week long summer holidays and work 30 hours a week with like full benefits for everything, because America subsidizes their existence as a country. They couldn't exist by themselves. And many of these outlets, by the way, this week, in all the conversation about the World Economic Forum and Trump's speech and the Board of Peace and the rest of it, they're admitting that these European nations could not defend themselves. So what is a nation that can't defend itself? That's not a nation. I mean, as soon as someone is aggressive against a nation that can't defend itself, that nation ceases to be a nation. It can just be taken over. And we had that study coming out, and I know you and Burning Bright, I think, talked about this on Wednesday, about how like Canada's military couldn't even stand up at the border against the United States if it came to that. Well, if that's the case, then our country can simply like the rook takes your pawn and you're just gone, right? So it just would be the United States. And we're not even
2
doing
days
it because
2 days.
Trump does respect their territorial sovereignty. So the whole thing about we need to keep these European allies on our side and that should be some sort of goal. Again, he's speaking for the elite of the elite in the kind of globalist / Zionist faction. And that's who he cares about. So it's like, for them, from their perspective of global governance, who are their allies if the United States is out? Well, you really think, Donald Trump, that you're going to get France and Germany and the UK with you? No, well, you're not. We're going to take those allies back. And they think that they have enough leverage over those countries.
Yeah. I mean, the panic really here is coming here. I think it comes from a financial perspective because they can't rip us off anymore in the setup that Trump is doing here. They don't want that to go away. And this next part is where the threat is. I didn't even highlight it, but he's like, what if, for instance, what does Europe do if they face a hostile and aggressive great powers on both sides? If history is any guide, they will choose rearmament instead. The task will be monumental to mount a plausible defense against further Russian territorial aggression, while also deterring American aggression, will require not just marginal increases in defense spending, but a full-scale strategic and economic reorientation towards self-reliance, a restructuring of European industries, economies, and societies. And honestly, like, that is kind of what Trump said you should be doing and wants you to do. Like, you should put yourself first. That's what we want to do. And he said this back in his 2018 speech at the UN, I think it was. I think I have the clip here.
In America, we do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example for everyone to watch. I was elected not to take power, but to give power to the American people where it belongs. In foreign affairs, we are renewing this founding principle of sovereignty. As President of the United States, I will always put America first. Just like you, as the leaders of your countries, will always and should always put your countries first. The entire world understands that the good people of Iran want change. And other than the vast military power of the United States, that Iran's people are what their leaders.
Okay, we don't need to listen to the Iran part, but you get the idea that we respect the sovereignty of other nations, unless that nation is Venezuela, because then we will come in and take your guy and just run that country instead.
Just here, let's switch over just for a quick second. This Guardian article from yesterday, this guy, Jonathan Friedland, of course, I looked him up a little bit.
And do they all look like that?
Well, yes. Yes. He is a liberal Zionist, a labor Zionist. He's on the other side of things. But here's what he has to say. The unavoidable key to this plan is vastly increased defense spending. That will remold the politics of all those countries who have enjoyed a peace dividend since the end of the Cold War, one that freed them to spend less on guns and more on schools and hospitals. And apparently that's supposed to be a good thing, as though the UK has amazing public schooling and amazing healthcare. But yeah, he just said it right there. So the military industrial complex is not going to be as relevant in certain places because we don't have forever wars. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to try to make all of that happen in Europe and then begin launching forever wars from Europe.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like they're framing it as they have to spend their own money. And I mean, I'd have to almost reread the article again because I could have swore those two things are in contradiction to each other. The fact that we're not giving them more money, we're doing our own hemispheric thing. You know, you would think that there'd be less conflicts in that situation, but they're arguing that they want more. It's because they probably started. I think that's the point you're trying to make.
Well, yeah. And also it's not like they're going to stop pursuing their program. Like the idea that one day there's just ultimate victory and then the game's over. That's not how it's going to be.
No.
Like the goal is to have the good twin faction be the controlling faction everywhere in the world. And there's always going to be the push and pull, the good twin faction, the evil twin faction in every single one of these countries. And that's what they do. They go country by country. They get a big force large enough to go around and wage war throughout the world, and they subdue country by country by country. They run the color revolution operations like we see happening in Minnesota. And in those operations, do they have just one side staging these events and creating chaos? No, they have a controlled opposition set up for that side as well. And so we see both sides of it in Minnesota, and we see a coordinated messaging campaign going out to support each side of that controlled opposition that we see in that color revolution scenario in Minnesota. And then after that, they bring in some international military force or whatever, subdue that place. Or if they can't do that, then they'll begin funding a civil war. And so we hear about these 30-year conflicts and civil wars. Oh, are those the same exact wars that Trump has been solving? Why, yes, they are. It's like it's all part of this same macro pattern that, of course, we've been talking about for years.
Yeah. Realistically, what have any of these allies of ours actually done for us?
I have no way of possibly answering that. I mean, they don't even, I would say that our lives are made better by getting, let's say, French wine and German automobiles or something. But that's still kind of a ripoff because that extracts American prosperity and takes it offshore.
Yeah. But like, what have they done for us besides giving us products either? Like there's been nothing.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's only been them ripping us off.
So in this Guardian article, he made the claim that Donald Trump was insulting the 457 British soldiers that participated in like one of the Middle Eastern excursions. And Trump actually addressed that on Truth Social today.
Did he? Yeah. I remember that. Hold on, let me find it.
No, I think that this was in the Guardian article, but maybe it was in the Atlantic article.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Just look for 457. I think it was 457.
It says 1945 a lot. That's
Sure
it.
does.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they want to run the Nazi storyline against Donald Trump, and they've been trying to do that and set it up for 10 years.
Yep. Trump's national security strategy focuses intensely on the Western Hemisphere at the expense of Asia, and the administration ardently desires a trade deal and strategic coordination with Beijing. Japan may need to choose between accepting subservience to China and building up the military capacity necessary for independent deterrence. The consequence of a newly unreliable and even hostile United States, therefore, will likely be significant military buildups by former allies. This will not mean sharing the burden of collective security, because these rearmed nations will no longer be American allies. They will be independent great powers pursuing their own strategic interests in a multipolar world. They will owe nothing to the United States. On the contrary, they will view it with the same antagonism and fear that they direct towards Russia and China. Having been strategically abandoned by the U.S. while suffering from American economic predation, and possibly territorial aggression, they are likely to become hotbeds of anti-Americanism. At the very least, they will not be the same countries Americans know today. Which is funny because in the national security strategy, Trump is like, you guys are being overtaken by Muslims right now. I don't even know if you're going to be the same country that we know today. You're going to be unrecognizable.
That's a damn good point. And, again, he's speaking from that global regime perspective, knowing that they have control over the global propaganda apparatus. So if these are going to become hotbeds of anti-Americanism, well, how are they going to get like that? And it's going to be a decades-long information operation to tell them that the Americans are the bad guys. Do we know what that looks like? Yes, because we were all raised being told that the Russians are the bad guys.
In a multipolar world, everything is up for grabs, and the flashpoints for potential conflict proliferate. The American order for 8 decades provided not only security commitments to allies and partners, but also common access to vital resources, military bases, waterways, and airspace, what theorists call public goods. In the absence of the United States playing that role, all of these once again become targets of a multi-sided competition. In a multipolar world, spheres of interest become important again. For centuries, the ability to maintain and protect a sphere of interest was part of what it meant to be a great power. It was also among the most common sources of war, as the spheres often overlapped. The seemingly endless three-way struggle among Russia, Austria, and the Ottoman Empire for control of the Balkans was a source of numerous conflicts, including World War I. The desire to regain and create spheres of interest was a leading motive of the three have-not powers that helped produce World War II, Germany, Japan, and Italy. The conclusion of that war led to a global shedding of spheres of interest. Part of what made the liberal world order liberal was the principle of self-determination enshrined in the Atlantic Charter and United Nations Charter. This principle was sometimes violated, including by the United States, but in past multipolar orders, great powers never even had to consider the rights of small nations, and they didn't. By contrast, the liberalism of the American order pressured powerful countries to cede sovereignty and independence to smaller ones in their orbits.
What does it mean for a nation to have rights?
I don't know.
I mean, that's not even a sensible construct unless you already assume the model that Robert Kagan assumes, which is this international rules-based order. Without the governing bodies and without any enforcement mechanism, it's nonsensical to suggest that nations have rights.
You're right, man. People have rights, God-given rights.
Yeah,
not government
natural.
rights.
Yeah, right. There's no natural rights of a government.
No. The mere existence of the United States and the liberal order it supported offered small and medium powers an opportunity denied them by centuries of multipolarity. The American order promised a higher standard of living for them, national sovereignty, and legal and institutional equality for them. Didn't benefit America, though. Various self-described realists in recent years have called on the U.S. to accept a return to spheres of interest as an alternative to unipolarity. Russia's traditional sphere of interest from the time of Peter the Great always included the Baltic states and at least part of Poland. Vladimir Putin is openly emulating Peter and is frank about his desire to restore the Soviet Empire as it existed during the Cold War.
I haven't heard him be frank about that. But, just before that, he's also talking about China taking Vietnam, all of Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan. Well, yeah, I mean, that's all in China's sphere of influence. And what he's saying is our global entity really going to be kicked out of all these places?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I don't think I understood the way you're phrasing that earlier.
Yeah,
but
so
that's what this does.
Right. So they have South Korea. South Korea is a U.S. military occupied section of Korea, right? It's not a real country. And you got Taiwan, you have Ukraine. There's a bunch of examples like that. If the global regime is removed from South Korea, well, what is South Korea? South Korea is a bit destabilized. North Korea had been a global regime pariah state that is on some sort of comeback right now. But China is still going to be the overseer of both of those countries and that region in general. And we have these three aligned sovereign superpowers taking responsibility for these spheres of influence. Well, who is the enemy of each one of them? Robert Kagan is telling you who the enemy is because he's marking out his enemy. So,
Well,
I don't know,
what
man.
would a world
That-
look
that
like? I
alignment
mean,
is easy to see. Go ahead. Sorry.
would places like Europe and some of the countries that he's saying that need to go back to like just doing their own thing now and rearm and whatever, like the ones that he's supportive of that still embrace this stuff, is there any hope of getting the global regime out of those places without the people doing it themselves, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I would think that it's probably further along than these people would like to admit. He talks about some of the rise of the far right in Europe. I think that there's at least some reason to believe that that's controlled opposition in the same way that they might describe, the quote unquote right under like a JD Vance or something. They would call that the far right and tell us that it's the most dangerous thing in the world. And we can know clearly that it isn't. So that thing's there. But yeah, I don't know. He's not happy about Poland. They haven't been happy about Hungary. Turkey's, I don't think, on their side. There's like threats to their power everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know what part of the world they would really be comfortable in at this point.
Interesting stuff. To recognize Russia's and China's spheres of interest would mean accepting their hegemony over a swath of nations that currently enjoy sovereign independence. And in this emerging new world, Russia and China will not be the only ones seeking to expand their spheres. Talk about Germany and Japan, whatever. Which brings us to the much trumpeted idea of a new accord among the United States, China, and Russia, equivalent to the 19th century's Concert of Europe. A successful arrangement would have to settle on boundaries for the relative spheres of interest. Is such an agreement possible? He says no, because the new multipolar world order will not have the same qualities as the one that prevailed 2 centuries ago. Metternich, is that how you say that?
Probably nicked. Metternich.
I like my way better. Metternich, Austria, was a status quo power interested only in protecting a conservative order against its liberal challengers. Bismarck regarded his newly unified Germany in the late 19th century as satiated. They both sought an equilibrium to hold on to what they had, not to get more. I always forget that I live in a place named after a former German leader.
Russian even. The idea that Russia and China want to go take over more lands and that the United States will too, that's one of the foundational premises of his argument. And if it turns out that that's not actually true in the way he's describing, the entire argument falls apart. And we already know that that's actually not true in the way he's describing it. So the argument's a pretty weak one.
Agreed. He goes on to talk about how neither side, neither Beijing or Moscow, have desire or need for any restraining accord with the United States. On the contrary, they have every reason to believe that this is the moment to press on. Xi Jinping has spoken of great changes unseen in a century, which offer China a period of strategic opportunity. For Putin, Trump's destruction of the transatlantic alliance is such a great change. Why shouldn't he seize this opportunity? He can't know how long the Trump phase will last in the United States. There's a biggie. And if the Europeans rearm, the Kremlin's window of opportunity may close. Until now, Putin has moved slowly, waiting 6 years between invading Georgia and annexing Crimea, and then another 8 years before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, which was severely hampered by America and its allies. Even though America didn't put boots on the ground, we just gave them a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
The Americans have now shattered that solidarity, and Putin could well behave or believe that this is the moment to speed up his plans for conquest. This means that the first few years of a new multipolar era will not be marked by adroit, mutually accommodating diplomacy, but by intense competition and confrontation. The world will look more like the brutal multipolar era of the early 20th century than like the more orderly, if still brutal, world of the 19th century.
How amazing is that, by the way? He's like the brutal multipolar era, and he basically just says, well, sure, our order was also brutal, but at least it was more orderly.
Yeah, that's a great point. And this is like the last, I guess I have more. This is the new world that America is entering, voluntarily shorn of its greatest assets. Are they talking about Europe being our greatest assets?
Gosh, this is the new world that America is entering, voluntarily shorn of its greatest assets. I think the alliance that is what he's talking about, the international world order and the alliance, or maybe he's talking about different connections on a higher global level that we don't have.
It's so retarded.
access to.
He's writing this stuff as if he's, in support of America, but he's totally writing this from the perspective of all these European countries because we're their greatest asset, 100%, not the other way around. It's retarded. The influential Chinese strategic thinker Yan Zhuangtong once observed that the most important gap between the United States and China was not military or economic power, both of which China could amass. It was America's global system of alliances and partnerships. When Russia or China went too far, it went alone. When the United States went to war, even in an unpopular conflict like Iraq, it had the support of dozens of allies. That wasn't really a big war, though. It wasn't like a traditional war.
Yeah, the coalition of the willing.
Yeah. American military power projection is dependent on bases all around the world, provided by nations that trust the United States as a partner and have been willing to overlook the inconveniences of hosting American soldiers. But they may reconsider if the U.S. no longer guarantees those nations security and instead wages economic warfare against them and makes political and ideological demands that they find offensive. And the reason we have bases there is to fight those people's wars for them. If we go back to our own hemispheric shit, we don't need to have bases in these countries anyway, because we'll have Greenland. That's all we'll need. Maybe that's why he has such a push for Greenland, is because he's going to pull bases out of these other countries.
Yeah, I mean, the Greenland thing, who knows? It seems like they want to have access to the North Seas and the North Pole. And if China, Russia, and the United States are all on the same page and are all in control of that area, like major parts of the global regime infrastructure fail at that point.
Yeah, we can finally see beyond the ice wall, maybe.
Well, I think the ice wall's somewhere else, but yes.
Well, where is it if it's not the North Pole?
The ice wall's on the outside.
So then the North Pole would be the middle?
That's right.
So then we got to the South Pole. Who controls that water?
Whoever's outside the ice wall.
We need to get like South Africa then. That's who we need.
That's right.
So
Or
around the horn.
Or Argentina, and you go down, I think it's Patagonia down there, and then it's just a hop, skip, and a jump over to Antarctica.
Okay, well, now I need to do some Google Earthing.
And I think that's where the penguins are. I definitely saw penguins in South Africa once.
I'm pretty sure this is right.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
that's it. Where were you saying?
Well, you would have to turn that, but well, no, you were at the right spot. It was just like not oriented the right way.
Oh, I don't know how to orient this the right way. I don't
twist it like.
I mean, I could twist my computer screen. I don't know if it'd do anything for you.
Yeah. So anyway, that's South America, but turned on its side. But down there at the tip, and by the way, that's that little landmass off that would be the eastern. Damn, how is this not getting?
Oh, there we go.
There you go. So yeah, that's Argentina, and that little landmass at the Falkland Islands, which is like a British territory that is going to have to be removed from the British Empire. All of the British Empire countries are being removed. This is something I've been talking about now for years. This is the macro pattern. All of the countries near these little territories are taking back their territories.
Well, can we just go take this next?
Well, I suppose we could, but that's pretty far away. I don't think we should take that.
Yeah, but Antarctica.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So then, yeah, it's just down there.
Crazy. Okay, let's go back to Rio Negro province. There we go. That's cool. Let's see where we're at. But the may reconsider no longer guarantees. Trump officials Okay, but they may reconsider if the U.S. no longer guarantees those nations security and instead wages economic warfare against them and makes political and ideological demands that they find offensive. Trump officials seem to expect European and Asian countries to join the United States whenever Washington needs or wants them to put pressure on China, for instance, even as the U.S. offers them nothing in return. But can you ditch your allies and have them too? Can you have your cake and eat it too, Chris?
Maybe.
It would be one thing if the United States really was retreating within its hemisphere, reverting to its 19th century isolation and indifference to global affairs. But among the most remarkable things about this administration's foreign policy is that for all the talk of America first, Trump evinces a seemingly unlimited global ambition. He enjoys wielding American power even as he depletes it. In his first year back in office, he launched strikes against Iran and Syria, threatened to seize Canada and Greenland, decapitated Venezuela's government, and promised to run the country, meddled ineffectually in wars in Southeast Asia, Central Africa, and the Middle East, and even proposed construction projects in the Gaza Strip that would have to be defended by American forces. I feel like he may be lacking some context for some of those situations, but I guess he's technically not wrong. Is this what restraint looks like? Trump's intellectual cheerleaders, love the use of that word, extol him for abandoning the nonsensical utopian goals of clueless elites, but in the next breath praise him for seeking nothing less than to reshape the entire world. Reshape it to one end, to line Trump's pockets and bring him glory. The Trump administration revels in the pursuit of self-interest and the exercise of strength for its own sake with gleeful disregard for the interests of others. As Trump's first-term national security advisor, H.R. McMaster, put it in an essay co-written with the economist Gary Cohen. I meant to read this. Whoops. Well, not let me open that. Okay, well, never mind. The world is not a global community, but an arena where nations, non-governmental actors, and businesses engage and compete for advantage. And in this world of Machtpolitik, the United States enjoys unmatched power. But for how long? McMaster's formulation, like Trump's exaltation of selfishness, rests on profound ignorance of the true sources of American strength. So much of America's influence in the world is derived from treating others as part of a community of democratic nations or of strategic partners. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and those last two paragraphs, I think, are bangers.
Yeah. For decades, much of the world supported the United States that acted on these principles and accepted America's power, despite its flaws and errors, precisely because it did not act solely out of narrow self-interest, much less in the narrow, selfish interest of a single ruler. That era is over. Trump has managed in just 1 year to destroy the American order that was, and he has weakened America's ability to protect its interests in the world that will be. If Americans thought defending the liberal world order was too expensive, wait until they start paying for what comes next.
And again, that sounds like a threat too.
Oh, yeah. I imagine it's going to be cheaper. Well, but Trump did say we need a $1.5 trillion defense budget. So maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that's a hell of an article. I love seeing these people freak out. That's what Davos was. That's what this is. And I think their freakout's only going to get worse as Trump gets closer and closer to accomplishing his agendas here. So I don't know, man.
Did you guys do the clip from Trump's Davos speech where he talked about using force? Was that part? I know you guys played a big chunk of the Greenland.
I don't think we did.
From
So
that.
if you have a specific part, let's do it.
Let me just take 2 seconds and cue that up, because I thought that was like one of the most interesting moments, and very much in line with a number of the things that he said while he was, on the Middle Eastern tour. I think it was in May.
While you're doing that, I could do a quick sponsor.
Yeah, go for it.
And we got a little Rumble wallet, guys. They can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your cards. They can decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. You can buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators fast and without interference. This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, Financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability, and Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. Make sure you test that it's working by trying to leave us a Bitcoin or two. And then that's true ownership, true protection, and true financial freedom. Thank you, Rumble Wallet and Rumble Studio, for that. All right.
Yeah, so there is Trump here. Let's play this. I was going to say also, somebody in the chat just mentioned this, and we discussed it earlier in our chat. Xi Jinping just let go a couple high-ranking military officials
The
in
coup.
the People's Liberation. I think it's People's Liberation Army. Is that the PLA? Yeah. So there was big talk about a coup to remove Xi, and apparently that is not happening. But here is here's that section at Davos, and I have it on 125 just so it goes a little faster.
Europe, they have to work on Ukraine. We don't. The United States is very far away. We have a big, beautiful ocean separating us. We have nothing to do with it. Until I came along, NATO was only supposed to pay 2% of GDP, but they weren't paying. Most of the countries weren't paying anything. The United States was paying for virtually 100% of NATO. And I got that stopped. I said, that's not fair. But then more importantly, I got NATO to pay 5%, and now they were paying, and now they are paying. So something nobody said was possible. They said, we will never go up higher than 2%. But they went to 5%, and now they're paying the 5. They didn't pay the 2, and now they're paying the 5. And they're stronger for it. And they have an excellent, by the way, Secretary General, who's possibly in the room. Mark, are you here? Yes, he's here. Hello, Mark. We never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II.
So I just thought it was so great. Like, I'm not going to use force. He said that's probably the biggest statement here at Davos, but it's because I don't need to use force. And he's right. He doesn't need to use force because he already has all the leverage, and that's all that ever matters. But if he ever has to use force, I would suggest that he just employ the discombobulator and take care of it with that. So did you see this morning?
I saw talk of this. I didn't see. I didn't actually read the article though. Maybe I did.
Here's what Trump says. Trump boasted that the mysterious weapon made enemy equipment not work when U.S. helicopters swooped into Caracas on January 3rd to arrest Maduro and his wife on federal drug and weapons charges without losing a single American life. The discombobulator. I'm not allowed to talk about it, Trump said during an exclusive interview in the Oval Office. I would love to, the president added before confirming its use in the stealth operation. They never got their rockets off. They had Russian and Chinese rockets, and they never got one off. We came in, they pressed buttons, and nothing worked. They were all set for us.
It's always a bummer when you can't get your rockets off, you know?
It's for real. You get blue balls that way.
Yeah. I wonder how long until the discombobulator comes to like commercial market. So I'd love to get one of those for like home defense purposes.
Yeah. This also, I think, is a hilarious meme that, or a hilarious post, whatever. Somebody did this with AI, perhaps.
Wouldn't it be after he pulls out the discombobulator against you?
He could have written that post a little better. I just thought the picture was funny.
Yeah, that is a funny
picture. The discombobulator. So what is discombobulating? Well, it means that you're entered into a state of confusion. And I would suggest that the enemy was highly confused after the Maduro thing. And I would suggest that very few people were not very confused And two of those people are right here.
Yeah. I mean, think about it though. All you would need for them trying to like push their buttons and them not working is, the guy that runs the country to turn the power off so that they can't do that. Then you just pick them up and go. But then you just call it the discombobulator weapon. Be like, we had this fascinating new tech. They tried to use their stuff and they couldn't work. The discombobulator. So funny.
Well, it's kind of a slightly different version of what he was talking about last summer when they did Top Gun Maverick into Iran. And he mentioned the other day in the Davos speech, no one saw anything like it or something. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he does that so often with these events. Like no one could believe anything about it. Yet still they got all discombobulated.
But they knew it was coming. So nobody in Iran got discombobulated though. They knew it was happening.
Did you see yesterday the Department of War's like chief technology officer or whatever, that account on X, formerly Twitter, posted that yes, they do have direct energy weapons.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Of course they do though. I mean, I feel like we've known that.
Sure. Okay. But that's the sort of thing that we were told was conspiracy theory.
That's true.
So I'm just saying a lot of these weapons coming out, you got directed energy weapons, you got the discombobulator, you have invisible planes that can blow up invisible nukes. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I talked when I had General Cost, I was on a show this week.
Yeah,
we talked about energy stuff and directing energy in a bad way. And I did ask him the question, like we always say that the military has 10, 15 years of tech advancements before we even get access to it. Is that true? And I got to say, love you, General, but you kind of dodged that question. And I understand why. I mean, in a little bit, like he pretty much said they did, but
yeah,
I didn't want to push him too hard because I felt like it was one of those questions. Sometimes you get those questions with the General. It's like, okay, well, I know he can't actually give me an answer there, so I probably shouldn't push my luck too much.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the difficult things with doing those sorts of interviews. When you're interviewing someone who has restraints on what they're able to say, it becomes kind of a different conversation, But I thought that was great. I had a lot of fun watching that episode.
Yours was great too. Next week's gonna be Burning Bright. That one's probably gonna suck. So if there's ever a week to not watch the show, it's this week. But then pick back up right afterwards.
I almost wish that I had asked him a little bit crazier questions, like, "Hey, is this thing real or is this thing real? What do you got to say about this?"
I was sitting there. I saw G Money in the chat. He was being G Money, and I was like, I should ask him: is the Earth flat? Is the moon real? Space real? I was gonna ask him, but I figured I'd let G do that when G goes on the show.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be very, very enlightening.
Bay Theater Dave made a great point, or it's really a great question for you, Chris. Can you mount a discombobulator on a paragliding go-kart? And to go further, can discombobulators be used against paragliding go-karts? Because we know the Iron Dome can't be, but what about discombobulators?
I think a discombobulator would have worked against the paragliding go-karts, but I also would say that to some extent, paragliding go-karts are a discombobulator.
The story of them are discombobulating.
Yeah. I mean, it might be that there are only stories in all of this because every bit of news of this variety is downstream from the military industrial complex, global intel organizations, and transnational corporations. Every bit of information that we get on these subjects is downstream from that. So all of it can be bullshit and we would never know.
I'm with you, man. I think that's all I got. Oh, no. There's one more thing I was going to say about Carney. The other thing he said in that speech when he's talking to Mark, who was in the room, by the way. Hey, Mark, the only reason Canada even exists is because we allow it to. Just like keep that in mind or something along those lines. And I thought that was great because it's so true. They did a study like what happens if the United States invades Canada. It'd take like 2 days. That means pretty much anybody could invade Canada and it would not be like anybody could take Canada at any point if they wanted to. The only reason that's never happened or doesn't happen is because the United States allows them to exist. I thought that was such a good point.
Indeed. Did you have a thing on the Putin to Trump soccer ball exchange in devolution, right? Or no?
I have an article. My part 16 and 17 are kind of having to do with.
Okay, but did you see this then from
Sorry,
the World
17 and
Economic
18.
Forum? This is Trump's pal Gianni Infantino.
Because this is also magic. You would think this is a ball, right? Well, that's not a ball. This is not a ball. This is actually, let me show you. Well, you see, this is a magic instrument that transforms people in happy people.
No, it's a fucking
Again.
ball, dude.
Look how he's smiling, you see? Immediately. He was serious. He gets the ball. Give the ball around a little bit to the crowd, and you
just
will
called
see
it a
it
ball.
transforms people in happy people. This is what this strange instrument does. And children, the children's face become happy, and adults become children, and they start playing, passing the ball. Look, the smiles all over the room. This is fantastic. This is beautiful. And this is something that we are forgetting, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, in these particular times. We forget to be happy, to be joyful. Everyone has its own problems, issues in life. And with football, we want to give to communities all over the world. FIFA has 211 countries which are members of FIFA. We want to give them a moment of joy and happiness. When a child kicks a ball, when an adult kicks a ball, they don't think about their issues and their problems in life. And we have always to remember that.
I think the moral of that story is to make somebody happy, you play with their balls. If you want to get their rockets off, play with their balls. To bring it full circle.
That's a great call.
Yeah, that is funny. And I did write about it in my part 18. It was 17, 18, not 16, 17.
There you go.
You even have the picture of the ball there. But all right, man, how do you feel about doing some boosts and some rants?
Let's do it.
All right, let me bring up the boosts first. For those watching at home and watching later, if you want to support the show or support Badlands Media, you can leave what's called a Badlands boost, badlandsmedia.tv. Click on boost, and it's like a rant that we will read on air. You don't have to be watching live to give it. And we got one here, as we usually do, from 1027JS. Thank you, guys. $20 says, thanks you. Thank you, Joe. She's a fellow North Dakotan. Glad to see she's staying warm, staying alive. Times are tough right now. And then we also got a few rants here. I see Keith O'Hagan. This should be a fun one. Polymathodon started off the show for $50. It says, thank you for all you gentlemen do. Thank you, Paulie. I'm still waiting for Paulie to go on with John Drake. So that's a rumor. It's going to be happening.
That's going to happen for sure.
Yeah. Excited to see that when it does. Babbage3 says YouTube stream hasn't been started. I think I got that fixed. I wonder how many we got over there. Ooh, we got 340 over on YouTube, it says. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow. Thank you, everybody over on YouTube. That's awesome. I don't recall us ever having that much before. It might be a record.
Little crowd starting to build.
Yeah, guys, go over there and if you're watching on Rumble, I know YouTube's gay. Everything's gay, guys. Everything's gay. Just go over there and hit the thumbs up on that gay platform for us. See what happens. D Patriots 1776 says, embrace the penguin. I'll do my best. Blackhead Destroyer, not just any cuck chair, but the beta cuck chair. That was a beta cuck chair if I've ever seen one. Playbook Worm says, enjoying the storm. Not sure which storm they're referring to, because we have two ongoing right now. We have the planned storm and the ice storm.
Well, the ice storm also might have been planned.
That's true. That is true. Have you heard of weather manipulation? Somebody needs to ask General Quast about that.
That would be good.
Keith O'Higgins, Pam Bondi says her letters are fluid. She got her position by fluid collection, I think. Even rubber stamps aren't going to lick themselves.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Keith. NGK, feds give it to the states. States run the programs. There is no federal way to make sure it goes to who it needs. The federal way, it shouldn't happen. That's the point.
It. Yes.
Our script for $20 says, does it occur to anyone that Bondi knows, oh, we read this already, but knows that strongly worded letter is a trigger and a laughing stock for us? Perhaps she said that today as a message. She very well could have. Black at the Store became a monthly supporter, and I know he gifted some subs, and I saw some other people do that as well. So thank you guys for doing that. Black Hat Destroyer then says, would you guys be opposed to the idea of bringing ICE under the U.S. military as a contractual civilian agency to resolve the issue of legitimacy and staffing, etc.?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I hinted at, but good call. Yeah.
Jen Hud says, could this be why Trump is taking Greenland? More than what we are seeing could be going on. And then there's this Camp Sentry. Have you ever seen this?
No.
Camp Sentry is an abandoned Arctic United States military scientific research base. Could be. Why was it abandoned? Project Iceworm was aborted after realization that the ice sheet was not as stable as originally assessed. That the missile basing concept would not be feasible.
Sounds like that might be bullshit.
Yeah, that was back in the 60s too. So if it's not bullshit,
when they tell me that they abandoned something that no one could ever possibly look at or know about, I have a feeling that like they didn't. But that's just me.
Okay, but let's just pretend. Okay, I know you're gonna love this. Let's just pretend that the story's real, and the reason they abandoned it is because the ice wasn't stable. If we have the technology right now called the discombobulator, I bet we have the recombobulator as well, and I bet we could use it on ice. I bet we could stabilize that shit.
That would be great. Yeah, you would think that we would have a stabilizer weapon too. I mean, we should just invent weapons. It'll be like, just take them all from the comic books.
I like ice weapons too because it just seems fun. I'm in North Dakota, ice storm right now.
For sure.
We can make ice. Like we've already stabilized it.
Yeah.
There's no reason this military base can't exist. We're going back. That's why we're doing it. I think you nailed it. Whoever left that rant. And then we got, let's see. Black Destroyer again says there's this retard over at CBN News 700 Club that thinks that Trump needs to quit alienating our allies in Europe and NATO because our allies have done so much for us. Like, really? I think we talked about that too. They really don't.
Yeah.
Keith O'Higgins, I bet Pam Bondi has fluid spheres of influence. Her headlights are probably on in chilly Minnesota. You would think that, Keith. And the Meerkat for $5 says, well, just got here late. Nothing to contribute but a rant. Going to rewind. I bet it was a great show. Chad, what do you guys think? Do you think it was a great show? And if you do think so, you should probably hit the thumbs up. But that's all we got. I have a great outro video. It's the one that you sent in our Telegram chat earlier. The Trump one. If I can find it here.
Wait, hold on. First, we have to play this one of, we don't even have to play the whole thing, but it's hilarious. This is the Board of Peace starring JD Vance. I'm putting it up.
So good.
It's so crazy. I mean, that's the music's so annoying, but the fact that that can be created now is,
dude, AI is insane.
Yeah,
just insane. But okay, this is the video we're gonna go out on. So thank you, everybody. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you guys next time we see you. Thanks, Chris.
Good night.
Time with them because they're really nasty looking, and I made some unpleasant jokes. Just got off the phone with the aliens, and they really like me. I have a great relationship with them, but I wish I didn't FaceTime with them because they're really nasty looking, and I made some unpleasant jokes, but I think they like me. We have a deal like you wouldn't believe that's about to happen. I found out they have oil like you wouldn't believe. They don't even touch it. They told me, you're crazy for using oil. I said, you're crazy for not using oil. What's wrong with these aliens? You know, you think aliens would be smarter than us, but apparently they're not, because all they wanted for the oil, think of this, all they wanted for the oil is Marco Rubio. I guess he has some kind of special lineage. They really want Marco Rubio. They love him. And I thought, that's fantastic. Look, Marco's not going to be happy about it, but one person for trillions and trillions of barrels of oil, you have to do it. So Marco's not going to be too happy about it, but he's probably already on his way. I made the phone call.